We are not the center of the universe. We aren't even the main characters in our own solar system's history. For decades, we've looked at the stars and asked, is anyone there? As if we were waiting for a phone call that never comes. But the truth is far more unsettling and far more beautiful. Life isn't a miracle. It's an inevitability. When you look up at the night sky, you aren't looking at a void. You're looking at a garden that simply hasn't bloomed for us to see yet. We've spent so long looking for people like us, creatures with radio towers and plastic, that we've ignored the quiet, pulsing reality that life in some form is likely breathing right now on worlds we haven't even named. Think about the sheer scale of the math. There are 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Each one holds hundreds of billions of stars. If you were to count every grain of sand on every beach on Earth, you'd still be short of the number of planets spinning out there in the dark. To believe we are the only ones is more than just lonely. It's a form of scientific arrogance. It's like standing on a single blade of grass in a vast meadow and claiming yours is the only one that grew. The chemistry of life, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen isn't rare. It's the most common dust in the cosmos. We are made of the most abundant materials in existence. If the ingredients are everywhere, why would the recipe only work once? But where is it? That's the question that keeps us up at night. We look at Mars, a frozen desert now. But 4 billion years ago, it was a world of blue oceans and thick clouds. It had everything we have. NASA's Perseverance rover is currently scraping the dust of Jezero crater because we know deep down that the fossils are there. We aren't looking for little green men. We're looking for our ancestors in the stars. And then there are the moons. Europa, orbiting Jupiter, holds more liquid water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Tucked away under a shell of ice, it's dark, it's cold, and it's under immense pressure, exactly the kind of place life on Earth loves to hide. In the hydrothermal vents of our own deep oceans, life thrives without a single ray of sunlight. If it can happen here in the crushing dark, it is happening there. Let's talk about the biology of the impossible. We used to think life needed a very specific Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold. But nature is far more stubborn than our textbooks suggested. We've found tardigrades that can survive the vacuum of space. We've found bacteria living inside nuclear reactors, feeding on radiation. We've found life in sulfuric acid and in the driest corners of the Atacama Desert. If life on Earth has taught us anything, it's that it doesn't just exist, it colonizes. It pushes into every crack and crevice it can find. To assume that the harsh environments of Venus's clouds or the methane lakes of Titan are dead just because we couldn't survive there is a failure of imagination. The problem isn't that life is rare. It's that our definition of it is too narrow. We expect life to look like us, to talk like us, or at least to use technology we understand. But what if life out there is so different that we're walking right past it? What if a planet's intelligence is the planet itself, a global consciousness of fungi or gas? We are looking for a reflection in a mirror, but the universe is a prism. We have to be brave enough to look for the things that don't look back. To understand the scale of the garden, we have to look at the Drake equation. When Frank Drake first scratched those variables onto a chalkboard in the 60s, he wasn't just doing math. He was mapping our loneliness. He looked at the rate of star formation, the fraction of those stars with planets, and the sliver of those planets that could support life. Even using the most cynical, pessimistic numbers, the kind of numbers a skeptic uses to shut down a conversation, the result is staggering. There should be thousands of civilizations in the Milky Way alone. But if the math says the room is crowded, why is the silence so deafening? This is the core of the Fermi Paradox. Where is everybody? It's a question that feels like a punch to the gut when you realize how old the universe is. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Earth is only 4.5 billion. There were planets that were ancient before our sun was even a spark of dust. If intelligence is a natural outcome of evolution, there should be civilizations out there that have had a 5 billion year head start on us. Imagine a civilization that has existed for 1 million years. We've had the internet for 30. To them, we aren't even ants. We are just chemistry that hasn't finished reacting yet. Maybe they aren't talking because they've moved beyond the need for words. We look for radio waves, but maybe radio is the smoke signal of the cosmos, a primitive technology used for a century before being replaced by something we can't even perceive. We might be sitting in a forest of fiber optic cables, trying to listen for the sound of a drum. The signals are passing through us right now, carrying the data of We are currently in the middle of a golden age of discovery. The James Webb Space Telescope is literally sniffing the atmospheres of distant worlds, looking for the breath of life gases like methane and oxygen that shouldn't be there unless something is living. We are looking at biosignatures on planets light years away. Imagine the moment. Not a grainy photo of a UFO, but a chemical graph that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that plants are photosynthesizing on a planet orbiting a red dwarf star. That moment is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And what happens to us on that day? Our religions, our borders, our petty conflicts over land and oil, they all look ridiculous when you realize you're part of a cosmic neighborhood. Finding life elsewhere will be a funeral for our loneliness, but it will also be a mirror. It will force us to ask, if life is everywhere, what makes ours worth saving? We treat our own planet like a disposable resource, yet we're desperate to find another one just like it. Maybe the search for aliens is really just a search for a version of ourselves that didn't mess everything up. It takes a certain kind of courage to accept that we aren't special, but that we are connected. The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than the atoms in your right. You are literally a piece of the universe that has become self-aware. And if the universe did it here, it's doing it everywhere. You aren't a fluke of nature. You are a natural consequence of a universe that wants to live. The vastness of space isn't an obstacle, it's a protector. It keeps us isolated until we are mature enough to handle the truth. Every star you see is a sun. Every sun likely has planets. And every planet is a roll of the dice that's been happening for 13 billion years. The odds are simply too high for us to be the only winners. Somewhere, right now, someone or something might be looking at our sun, seeing a tiny yellow dot, and wondering the exact same thing. Look at the history of life on Earth. It started almost the second the planet cooled down enough for water to exist. Life didn't wait. It didn't hesitate. It sprang forth, as if it were waiting in the wings for its cue. This suggests that life isn't a long-shot gamble. It's a chemical inevitability. If the conditions are there, biology follows physics like a shadow follows a light. We see this in the organic molecules found on meteorites. The building blocks of life are literally raining because the truth is, the universe doesn't make mistakes. It makes life. It makes us. And if it did it here, in this tiny corner of a middle-aged galaxy, it is doing it everywhere. We are made of the same iron that cores the planets and the same carbon that fuels the stars. You aren't just on the universe. You are the universe looking back at itself. And it's time we finally acknowledged the rest of the family. That silence, though, is where things get complicated. If the math tells us the room is crowded, why does the house feel so empty? This is where the wonder of discovery meets the cold wall of the Fermi Paradox. Enrico Fermi, one of the architects of the nuclear age, famously asked during a lunch conversation, "Where is everybody?" It sounds like a simple question, but it's the most haunting sentence in the history of science. If there are billions of stars that are billions of years older than our own, and if even a tiny fraction of those stars have planets that developed life, then someone should have colonized the entire galaxy by now. Even at the slow, plodding speeds of our current chemical rockets, it would only take a few million years to hop from one star to the next until the entire Milky Way was mapped and inhabited. In cosmic terms, a few million years is a weekend. The galaxy is over 13 billion years old. There has been time for 1,000 civilizations to rise and fall, for empires to span across the spiral arms, and for the entire night sky to be lit up by the glow of Dyson spheres, massive structures built to capture the total energy of a sun. And yet, when we point our most sensitive radio telescopes at the heavens, we hear nothing but the static of dead stars and the faint hum of the Big Bang. This silence isn't just a mystery, it's a terrifying data point. It suggests that something is stopping life from becoming what we think it should be. This is the concept of the Great Filter. It's the idea that in the long journey from a single strand of DNA to a star-faring civilization, there is a wall that almost no one passes. If the filter is behind us, if the hard part was simply getting life to start, or moving from a simple cell to a complex one, then we are the lucky ones. We are the survivors of a cosmic lottery, and the stars are empty because we are the first to make it through the gates. But if the filter is ahead of us, if the wall is something like nuclear war, climate collapse, or the creation of a self-replicating artificial intelligence that doesn't care about its creators, then the silence of the stars is a warning. It means that every other civilization that reached our stage met a dead end. We are looking into a graveyard, wondering why nobody is waving back. Think about the sheer diversity of what life could mean. On Earth, we are carbon-based. We need water. We breathe oxygen. But on a moon like Titan, where the temperature is 290 degrees below zero, there are lakes of liquid methane. To us, that is a frozen hell. But to a different kind of biology, that methane could be the water of their world. They might breathe hydrogen and eat acetylene. They would look at Earth, a hot, oxygen-rich ball of rock, and think it was a toxic wasteland. Oxygen, after all, is a highly reactive, corrosive gas. To a methane-based life form, we are the monsters living in an oven. When we say habitable, we usually mean habitable for humans. But the universe doesn't care about our comfort. It is a playground for every possible combination of matter and energy. Consider the role of dark energy and dark matter. We can only see about 5% of the universe. The rest is a mystery that we can only detect by how it pulls on the things we can see. What if life exists in that other 95%? What if there are civilizations made of dark matter, living in the same space as us, but passing through us like ghosts? We are like fish in a pond who think the whole world is water, never realizing there are birds in the air and people on the land. Our senses are limited. Our instruments are primitive. We are trying to map the ocean with a teaspoon. The panspermia theory suggests that life didn't even start on Earth. It suggests that billions of years ago, a comet hit a living world, kicked up dust and microbes into space, and those seeds traveled through the vacuum for eons before landing in our oceans. If that's true, we are the aliens. We are the descendants of a cosmic traveler. And if it happened here, it's happening everywhere. The universe is sneezing life from one system to another. We aren't an isolated event. We are part of a continuous galactic infection of biology. Every time a planet is born, the seeds are already waiting in the dust. But what if the answer is darker? What if the great filter is still ahead of us? The great filter is the idea that there is some obstacle that almost no civilization can pass. Is it the discovery of fire? The invention of the steam engine? Or is it the moment a species discovers how to split the atom or create There's a deep irony here. We are desperate to find life out there because we are failing to value the life we have here. We treat our own planet like a disposable resource, poisoning the very air and water that allowed us to exist. Yet we spend billions of dollars looking for a second home in the stars. We are like a family that has burned down their own house and is now wandering the neighborhood, knocking on doors, hoping someone will let them in. Finding life in space won't save us from ourselves. If we can't learn to live on the pale blue dot, we won't survive on the red sands of Mars or the icy crust of Europa. I want you to sit with that for a moment. The search for aliens is, at its heart, a search for a mirror. We want to know if someone else made it. We want to know if there is a version of history where a species discovered the power of the atom and didn't build a bomb. We want to know if there is a world where progress doesn't mean destruction. If we find a signal from a civilization that has existed for 1,000,000 years, that signal won't just contain science. It will contain the proof that survival is possible. It will be the ultimate message of hope. But until that day, we are in the long silence. And that silence has a weight to it. It forces us to look at the person standing next to us and realize that they are the only other conscious soul we might ever know. If there is no one else, then every human life is infinitely more precious. Every act of kindness, every piece of art, every scientific discovery becomes a monument in a silent universe. We are the ones who give the cosmos a voice. We are the ones who give it meaning. Without us, the galaxies would still spin and the stars would still burn, but there would be no one to say, "Look how beautiful it is." So I ask you, if we are the only ones, what are we doing with that responsibility? And if we aren't, are we ready to meet the neighbors? I want to see your thoughts in the comments. Not just the theories you've read, but the gut feeling you get when you look at the Andromeda galaxy through a telescope. and realize there are a trillion stars there, and not one of them has said a word. Does that silence feel like a threat? Or does it feel like a beginning? Because if the dark forest is real and everyone really is hiding, the next question becomes obvious. How do we find them? The answer might not be in what they say, but in what they build. This is the shift from looking for biosignatures, the breath of a planet, to techno-signatures. The fingerprints of a civilization's industry. We are no longer just listening for a hello. We are looking for the exhaust fumes of a galactic engine. Think about our own footprint. If an alien astronomer were looking at Earth from 100 light-years away, they wouldn't see our cities. They would see a strange, artificial glow on our night side, the light of our street lamps and skyscrapers. They would see a chemical imbalance in our atmosphere that shouldn't be there naturally, CFCs from our aerosols and nitrogen dioxide from our cars. We are messy. We are loud. And a civilization just a few centuries ahead of us might be messy on a scale that beggars belief. One of the most profound ideas in this search is the Dyson sphere. Named after the physicist Freeman Dyson, it's the ultimate engineering project. A shell or a swarm of satellites built entirely around a star to capture every single photon of its energy. A civilization that builds one would have millions of times more energy than we do. They wouldn't just be rich, they would be masters of their solar system. But even a Dyson sphere has a flaw. It has to obey the laws of thermodynamics. All that captured energy eventually has to be released as heat. This means a star surrounded by a Dyson sphere wouldn't look like a star anymore. It would look like a massive, glowing ball of infrared light. We have already started surveying the sky for these infrared excess stars. In 2015, the world was captivated by Tabby's star, a distant sun that was flickering in a way that defied every natural explanation we had. It wasn't a planet passing in front of it. The light dip was too deep and too irregular. For a brief, shining moment, the alien megastructure hypothesis was on the table. While further study suggested it might be a massive cloud of unusual dust, the excitement proved one thing. We are ready to find the giants. We are looking for the shadows they cast against the hearth of the universe. But what if the giants aren't made of metal and glass? What if they are made of code? We often assume that biological life is the end goal of evolution. But on Earth, we are already moving toward a merger with our machines. We have neural interfaces, prosthetic limbs that move with a thought, and AI that can process data 1,000,000 times faster than a human brain. In cosmic terms, biological life might just be a brief flash, a biological fuse that lights the fire of artificial intelligence. An AI civilization wouldn't need a Goldilocks planet. They wouldn't need oxygen or water or a stable temperature. They could live in the cold, dark vacuum of space, orbiting a dead pulsar or a black hole to harvest its rotational energy. They could exist for billions of years, their thoughts slowed down to a crawl to save energy, or sped up until a second of our time feels like a century to them. When we look for life, we are looking for things that breathe and die. But the true masters of the galaxy might be immortal, silicon-based minds that find our obsession with habitable zones quaint and primitive. This brings us to the shadow biosphere, the idea that life might be right under our noses, but so fundamentally different that we literally can't see it. We define life as something that uses DNA and proteins. But what if there is life that uses mirror molecules? Or life that doesn't use molecules at all, but exists as patterns of plasma in the upper atmosphere of stars? Scientists have actually found that under the right conditions, inorganic dust particles can form double helix structures that mimic DNA. They can replicate, evolve, and compete for resources. This isn't biology as we know it, but it is process. It is the universe trying to wake up in a different way. There is a humility in this realization. We are like children on a beach, convinced that the only things that matter are the shells we can pick up, never realizing the ocean is full of creatures we can't even imagine. We have spent our history looking for a reflection of ourselves. We want a Star Trek universe where everyone has 2 arms, 2 legs, and a slightly different forehead. But the reality is likely to be much more alien. Finding others might not be a conversation. It might be an encounter with something so vast and so strange that we lack the vocabulary to even describe it. But even in that strangeness, there is a connection. Because regardless of whether they are made of carbon or silicon, whether they breathe oxygen or liquid methane, they are bound by the same laws of physics. They see the same stars. They deal with the same gravity. They have to solve the same mathematical problems to survive. Math is the universal language. 2 + 2 = 4 on Earth, and it equals 4 on a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri. When we finally find a signal, it won't be a poem or a song. It will be a prime number. It will be a statement of logic. I am here, and I understand the rules of the house. That realization that we share a house with a potentially infinite number of other beings is the most transformative thought a human can have. It strips away the illusion of our own importance. It makes our wars over religion and territory look like 2 ants fighting over a crumb while a storm approaches. The storm is the reality of the cosmos. It is vast, it is ancient, and it is indifferent to our pride. I want you to think about the loneliness we feel. Is it because we are alone, or is it because we have forgotten how to listen? We live in a world of constant noise, the noise of our phones, our politics, our anxieties. But the universe is quiet, and in that quiet, there is a different kind of information. There is the music of the spheres. When you step away from the city lights and look up at the Milky Way, you aren't just looking at light. You are looking at history. You are looking at the potential for a billion different stories to be happening right now. Does that thought bring you peace? Or does it make you want to look away? I want to see your reactions. Have you ever had a moment where you looked at the stars and felt, not thought, but felt that someone was looking back? That's the feeling we're chasing. That's the DNA of the human spirit. And that feeling is exactly where the real question waits for us. What happens the day after we find them? How does human society survive the shock of no longer being the only intelligent life? Imagine the morning after. The headline isn't a rumor. It isn't a blurry video of a light in the sky. It is a verified, peer-reviewed signal, a sequence of prime numbers, a chemical graph of an atmosphere, or a flickering star that can only be explained by a Dyson swarm. In that single moment, the human story ends, and the cosmic story begins. Everything we have built our religions, our philosophies, our pride undergoes a violent, necessary transformation. For thousands of years, we have operated on the assumption that we are the main event. We have viewed the universe as a backdrop for our drama. But the signal changes the backdrop into the stage. It is the funeral of loneliness. We are no longer the only ones who know the universe exists. We are no longer the only ones who can name the stars. The first shock will be psychological. There is a specific kind of ontological shock that comes when a species realizes it is not the top of the food chain intellectually, technologically, or spiritually. We have spent our history looking down at the animals of Earth with a sense of superiority. Now we are the ones being looked at. We are the primitive ones. We are the ones with the quaint rockets and the simple radio waves. This humility will be a bitter pill for a species that thrives on ego, but it might be the only thing that can save us from our own self-destruction. How do we react? History suggests two paths: fear or curiosity. There will be those who want to build walls around the sky, who see the others as a threat to be managed or a god to be worshipped. But there will also be those who see the signal for what it truly is: an invitation. It is an invitation to grow up. It is an invitation to realize that the things that divide us, our borders, our currencies, our petty grievances, are invisible from the stars. When you are looking at a signal from a civilization 40 light-years away, you don't care if the person next to you is from a different country. You only care that they are human. But there is a deeper, more personal question. What if we never find them? What if this entire journey we've just taken together ends in a quiet room with the lights turned off? What if we are the only ones? This is the firstborn hypothesis. It suggests that someone has to be the first. In a universe that will last for trillions of years, 13.8 billion years is the very beginning of the story. Most of the stars that will ever exist haven't even been born yet. Most of the planets that will host life are still just dust in a nebula. Perhaps we are the ancients. Perhaps millions of years from now, a different species on a different world will look up at a tiny yellow dot in the sky, our sun, and wonder if anyone was ever there. If we are the firstborn, our responsibility is even greater. We aren't just survivors. We are the seeds. We are the ones who have to carry the fire of consciousness through the long, dark night until the rest of the garden starts to bloom. We have to be the ones who don't burn the house down before the guests arrive. We have to be the ones who leave a legacy of wisdom and compassion so that the civilizations that follow us don't have to start from zero. Think about the atoms in your body again. They have been through the hearts of stars. They have been scattered by supernovas. They have traveled through the vacuum for billions of years before coming together for a few decades to form you. You are a temporary gathering of stardust that has gained the ability to think, to love, and to search. That is not a small thing. It is the most remarkable thing in the known universe. Whether the stars are full of life, or whether they are waiting for us to bring life to them, the answer is the same. The search is what makes us human. The questions are the point. We aren't looking for aliens because we need a savior. We are looking for them because we are explorers. We are a species that cannot stand a closed door. We have to know what's on the other side. As we close this chapter of the journey, I want you to look at the world around you with new eyes. Look at the trees, the birds, the people on the street. Every one of them is a miracle of chemistry that shouldn't exist in a universe governed by entropy. Every one of them is a winning lottery ticket in a cosmic game. We are a community of survivors on a tiny, fragile island in a massive, dark ocean. Don't let the silence of the stars make you feel small. Let it make you feel significant. If the universe is a giant, unwritten book, then you are the one who is currently holding the pen. What are you going to write? Are you going to write a story of fear and isolation, or a story of wonder and connection? I want to thank you for coming on this journey with me. This is more than just a script. It's a manifesto for the curious. If this spoke to you, if it made you feel that strange, cold shiver of awe, then you are exactly who I'm talking to. You are the star stuff that is waking up. Keep looking up. Not because the answers are easy, but because the questions are beautiful. The universe is loud, it is living, and it is waiting. We just have to be brave enough to keep listening. I'll see you in the comments. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the garden. Let's talk about home.